Welcome to the Angels Win podcast with former Angels broadcaster Victor Rojas, featuring Geoff Stoddart and Chuck Richter. And now it's time to talk about some baseball. Victor, take it away.
Oh, it's that time of week. It is Angels Win podcast time. I'm Victor Rojas along with Geoff Stoddart and Chuck Richter. We are so glad you could join us. This is episode number 15, the old Tim Salmon episode 15. So glad you could join us, and thank you for listening and watching. If you're new to our broadcast or podcast, welcome. And we can be found obviously on iTunes, Amazon, iHeart, Spotify. And then we also post this video on YouTube as well, so you can check it out on the Angels Win YouTube page. Chuck, Geoff, hope you guys are doing well. It's been an awful week for the Angels and the Angels faithful. Plenty of folks stepping up to the ledge. Some have started to leap off. That's not good. But I guess you got to kind of keep your head above water. But before we start the conversation, Geoff, you're going to lead things off. Cheers, gentlemen. We drink on this show, folks. This week, we're drinking hearty. Are you drinking coffee?
I am drinking coffee. So I work with a nonprofit that raises money for childhood cancer, and this was our big weekend. And we had a big dinner on Saturday night, and lots of cocktails were served. I didn't get home until 1:30, and then I was up at 5 this morning to get to the golf course for the golf tournament that we had. And I am dragging, boys, but I'm here. I've got coffee. I'm going to rally.
Chuck, how you doing,
Chuck, what
buddy?
are you drinking?
It's funny you should ask. I'm drinking Weller. So I just went to the liquor barn in Kentucky, and Buffalo Trace had a big old a booth there. And for that day only, you got really good deals on Buffalo Trace, Weller, all their stuff. Eagle Rare for $40, which is here in Tennessee, it's almost $100 a bottle.
Really?
So I was like a kid in a candy store, as you can imagine.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So I saved a lot of money. Went with my neighbor, who I told you is the squire at for Jack Daniels.
Of course.
Of course, yeah. So yeah,
I think you strategically looked at certain places in Tennessee when you move from the state of Washington near the people you wanted to be by that could get you discounted or free stuff and or a pathway to that. Am I wrong in my assumption?
You're half correct. Yes. I did do a lot of research.
And
the other half is extremely lucky. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So,
And the street tacos today look good, by the way.
Those street tacos were amazing. And I'm so glad because, a lot of the restaurants around here, the Mexican restaurants are more like the Tex-Mex or the American, Mexican food. And growing up in Southern California, I mean, Geoff, you and I, we've been spoiled, right? I'm sure, Victor, you've had some good stuff too growing up. And so it's to find an authentic, good Mexican eatery nearby, that makes me happy.
Good, man. Glad to hear.
Yeah.
Took my Tyler, my son, got home yesterday. What's today? Sunday? No, it's Friday. And he was 6 weeks up at school, so he's here for 2 weeks. Mama's out in Arizona taking care of Mattingly up at Grand Canyon. So Tyler and I went and had some Mexican food last night at Rocco's Tacos and Tequila in Naples, Florida. And it's more kind of a junior varsity Javier's. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Javier's for me is like really like the upper echelon, fancy kind of Mexican food. And I think it's fantastic.
Right.
So this is very similar, cool vibe. Good food, nachos and the queso are pretty stupid, ridiculously good. I mean, which they give you this big ass plate of chips, and it's like you don't even need to eat. It's just alcohol and chips and salsa with queso, and I'm solid. So,
oh my gosh!
And I'm sure, and the reason we're talking about this stuff because there's nothing else to talk about. There's nothing else.
This is like our food and drink episode.
Exactly.
We may get more subscribers.
Maybe, and maybe we start delving off into other verticals. But anyway, we digress. Here on the show, if you haven't joined us before, we kind of look back in time, then we look ahead. In between, we sandwich in some conversation about whatever catches our fancy, and that's kind of how we roll here. And so this week, obviously, it's just hasn't been a good week. Last week on Sunday, we were talking about the upcoming trade deadline that happened on Tuesday. The Angels made the moves that they felt were necessary, and given the injuries, obviously were necessary if you thought you were going to compete and still think you're going to compete. And they did. They brought in Grichuk, and they brought in Crone. They brought in Giolito. They brought in Lopez as well in the bullpen. And it just has not gone well for the Angels this week. They have yet to win a game post-trade deadline. And now the problem is that you're finding yourself in some deep doo-doo as far as the standings are concerned. The Angels are now 10.5 back in the division. The Rangers won earlier today. They won 6 consecutive games. They suffered a big blow, though. Josh Young has a broken bone in his hand, and so he's going to be out for some time. The Astros beat the Yankees. Mariners, of course, swept the 4-game series. So all 3 teams ahead of you in the division won today. So the Angels are 10.5 games back in the division, 7 back now in the wild card as the Rays, Astros, Blue Jays, all 3 won. Those are the 3 wild card teams currently. Seattle, of course, is 2.5 back. Yankees, 4.5 back. Red Sox are ahead of the Angels. They're 5 back. And the Angels are 7 back with the Guardians fighting their way, 8.5 back in the wild card, just a game and a half behind the Angels. So it's a very tough road now that you have 3 teams ahead of you. You're not playing consistent baseball. And I listened a little bit on the Mariners broadcast today. I like to bounce around broadcasts. And the interesting thing about that was that, they stated this series easily could have gone the Angels' way, right? Because if you go back to Thursday night, the Grand Slam and against Estevez, and, maybe the ball doesn't go over the wall in Saturday night's game off the bat of Drury. Does that change the dynamic of it? Possibly. That being said, aside from the one game on Thursday, which, look, Estevez was not going to go perfect. I mean, it would have been nice, but he wasn't going to go perfect all season long and save opportunities. It just happened at the wrong time, right? So that's a game I think you absolutely should have won.
Yeah.
The next 3 games, and it's still an issue, situational hitting. With men in scoring position. The Angels on Sunday were 1 for 7. Saturday night, they were 1 for 3. They were 0 for 1 going into the 9th inning in Saturday night's game. So you could talk all you want about Drury's opportunity in the 9th or what could have been, but they only had 1 opportunity in the previous 8 innings to put men in scoring position and capitalize. That's still an issue. So, Jeff, I'll let you kind of give me your thoughts and how your sense of the 4-game series against Seattle, because that's a big blow because now you're trailing that series against the season series against Seattle,
right?
And which means there's no more play-in games, so any ties revert back to the series against that team. But your thoughts on this 4-game set against the Mariners?
It was a backbreaker. I don't know that there's any other way to look at it. Coming off the trade deadline where Perry made so many moves, and I think there was a general sense in, the Angels fandom that, here we go. This is it. We've clearly Artie is going for it. He's given Perry everything that he needs to go make the moves and spend the money, go through the, get into the luxury tax areas. Let's go get it. And like we pushed all of our chips into the middle of the table, and then we lose the last 2 to Atlanta, and we get swept by the Mariners, and it feels like you push your chips all in, and your opponent has pocket aces, and you're done. And while there is still a little over a month and a half left in the season, and things certainly are not done. Boy, it feels horrible. I mean, you've lost 8 of your last 10. You're 0 for August. Chuck, I don't know how you can really, spit shine this turd right now. It just feels heavy and gross.
I think my shirt says it all for Angels fans, and it's this week. But really, to Victor's point,
and for those that are just listening, it says whiskey helps.
Yeah, exactly. But to Victor's point, it's not just the situational hitting and hitting with runners in scoring position, but it's just really bad approaches at the plate, swinging at pitches way up in the zone on a 3-2 count, and Grichuk and Moniak today, when they had those 2 runners at second and third with 1 out, you got to punch one of those guys in, and they didn't. And it's been a common theme throughout this season for the Angels, where they've had bases loaded, they've had runners at second and third, and they've come away empty. And you're not going to go anywhere when you're not producing in those situations. And then, on the flip side too, Reed Detmers has been a problem. I mean, the guy can't even get out of the 4th inning. He's given up 7 runs, but then you go up against Luis Castillo, and we get 7 runs on him, and we still lose that same game. And it's just, and that was a game too, where, I believe he went, 2 for 9 that night with runners in scoring position on Friday. And that was another winnable game. So to the Mariners broadcasting team's point, it's true. Every one of these games were super close, and it could have flipped the other way. And man, it's just, I'd like to say it's bad luck. I'd like to say it's the home plate umpires with terrible calls this season. I'd like to say it's the injuries, which is pretty fair, being that they lead the league in most players going on the IL this year of any team in Major League Baseball. But again, you got to come through in those opportunities that are right there in front of you, and they just haven't done it.
I want to unpack a couple of things that you said there, and I probably should have written it down because there's a couple of things that I did want to talk about. Look, I think throughout this, the last 14 shows, now 15 shows, we, for the most part, this show has been about just being honest, just being truthful. I don't look. I want the Angels to win. Obviously, it's been 11 years. I've known the Angels organization since 1982, since I was in 8th grade is when it started for me. Okay, living in Kansas City because that's when my dad first started working there. So I have a connection to the Angels. I want the Angels to win. I'm also, as I said last week, a realist, and I have my feet firmly planted on the ground. And I still believe that this team is what it is, a virtually 500 ball club. That's how they have played. We're into August now, and they continue to be who they are. And I say that because it's a team that has struggled against better teams. They're 10 games under 500 versus teams that are over 500 winning percentage. And they're 31-41 against good teams. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Their run differential through today is plus 11. So as good as the offense has been, they're plus 11. If you take the Colorado game out of the equation and just make it a normal score, maybe 5 runs, 7 runs or whatever, right? You are negative in the run differential. Wow. So for as good as that offense has been, right, it still is what it is. And that's where I think oftentimes, and we've spoken about this, is like, your fandom is with your heart, right? Because this 100%. Is the year. Look what they're doing. They're going out and getting guys. And it's really, look, I get it. Every team goes through injuries. Unlike majority of the teams, the Angels went out and picked up players to counter the injuries. They went out and got Moustakas. They went out and got Escobar, right? They went out and got Crone. They went out and got Grichuk. Mm-hmm. They went out and got Giolito. They added a bullpen piece. So, yeah, it would have been nice to have Ohapi, and Neto's out with the back injury now. And obviously I think we love Neto and Ohapi too. And, we'll see when they come back and if they're able to contribute. I think Neto is what he is. Ohapi, we still don't know, right? He got off to a great start. We still don't know what type of big league player he is. We're excited about what we saw, but what is he going to contribute? Trouty, of course, hopefully he comes back soon. But I don't know what the expectation is. When you start comparing this ball club to those ahead of you, there has to come a time where you realize, okay, maybe we're just not as good as we think we are this year, comparatively speaking, to the Texas Rangers, the Houston Astros. Seattle, I don't know, right?
Right.
Tampa Bay Rays, Baltimore Orioles, all those teams that are stacked up in front of you. How good are you, even if you had a full deck, based on the numbers that they were putting up this year? Is it realistic, right? And I just don't know. And I want people to understand it's like we're not dumping on the Angels. It's just like, hey, let's take a beat. Let's peel back a little bit, zoom the lens out, and like who is this team? And I'll give you an example, and this is all based on what you just finished saying, Chuck. Umpires, bitching about umpires. Every team, every fandom in baseball can bitch about umpires.
Yeah.
The Houston Astros could complain about Angel Hernandez this afternoon at Yankee Stadium. Even though they won the game, they can complain about Angel Hernandez, right? I mean, that's just how it goes. I saw a lot of things last night when Shohei struck out in the ninth inning in Saturday night's game. He struck out. Well, I mean, that's the umpire's fault. Is it? Shohei swung at what would have been ball 4, a 3-0 slider that was below the strike zone. So if you say the second strike, is the umpire's fault, okay. But, I mean, did Shohei get himself out or did the umpire get Shohei out? It kind of cuts both ways. And that's just what I mean by being a realist about the situation. And Shohei on Sunday went 1 for 4, had a couple of strikeouts. Look, he's not going to come up every single time and be a hero.
Yeah.
And to that point, as I said, they were 0 for 1 going into the ninth inning Saturday night. It was an unlucky bounce going over the wall. Was it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a ground roll double. Moustakas hits a ball to the wall in right field. I saw a tweet that in 24 of the 30 ballparks in Major League Baseball, that would have been a home run. Well, tough shit. You're playing a day game at Angel Stadium when the ball carries during the daytime. It got marine layered in the corner. I mean, that just is what it is. It's like I'm just so frustrated as a fan of reading all these. I just hate excuses. And sometimes you just have to look in the mirror and just say, you know what? We're not there yet. We're not there yet. And that's where my frustration comes in. But I understand the passion and the love that Angel fans have for their ball club.
It's, as you mentioned, Victor, we've been talking all year about who is this team, right? All that they've shown us again and again is that they're about a 500 ball club. They've been up, over 500 by 6 games. They've been down and under 500 by about 6 games. But if you look over the course of the season so far, they're about a 500 ball club. We've seen activities from them that have sparked optimism, sparked hope where, hey, if they can put the pieces together, consistency is a thing that we talk a lot about on the show. They just haven't shown it. Even in today's game, you look at the outing that they had from Silseth. Holy cow, I'll take that every day of the week from this guy. I mean, he goes 7 innings and gives up, 2 runs on 4 hits and strikes out 12. Wow, let's do that. But to your point, we go back to Friday's game where they give up 9 runs. And even though they scored 7, it's like we should have done. They're not putting it together ever. And I don't know that they will. And I also don't know, like, what's missing, right? I mean, we made a lot of moves. We brought in some pieces that seemed good and seemed like, okay, this may get us over the hump, or at least improve things a bit. And I mean, obviously, just since Monday night, it's a small sample size, but I don't know. I don't know how we get. I don't know.
I'm going to get that on a shirt. I don't know.
I don't, and that's it.
I just don't know.
I got nothing.
You know what, Victor? I'm gonna go the other way. So if you're looking for silver linings, and if you're looking to last year and projecting forward, okay, and you're Perry Manasian, you look at what Sandoval did in a sub-3 ERA, right? You look at what Detmers did, and all the talk in spring training was that Detmers looks great, and he's ready to build upon the good season he had last year, right? And that was all true. You look at what Anderson did, and I don't think anybody thought he was going to bring a sub-3 ERA that he had with the Dodgers to the Angels, but at least give you, something in the high 3s, maybe the low 4s. That hasn't happened. He's pitched much, much better of late, though. And they've even got some good starts from Canning, who was a wild card, right? I don't think any of us expected anything from Canning this year. And then now you have Silseth, right? You look at, and then, you pile on, and then you put all those guys together. And if you get some of that production from 2022 this season with a little more health, right? You don't lose Ohapi. You don't lose Trout. You're going to lose some people to the IL, right? But not for extended periods. You get zero, absolutely zero from Anthony Rendon, which to me, he was my pick to click, if you will, coming into the season. Like, he was my guy that I said, he's going to carry the Angels to the promised land this year. I think he's just going to bounce back, and, he's going to show, the Angels fans out there that he still got it. And then, Ohtani's going to build upon his season he had last year as a starter and still hit maybe 30 home runs, right? He's kind of reversed that, right? Where he's a better hitter this year than he was last year, but worse off as a pitcher. But I think that if you
by worse off, he's still the ace of the staff by a large margin.
By far.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's not even close. So you take that, and again, a little health, a little bit more productivity with runners in scoring position. You take that production that you had from 2022, and on paper, I mean, they could have been a bigger force this year. So I don't know.
Well, that's what we were told, right? On paper, in spring training, this was a team that was built to compete.
Right.
And I guess that's where, from a projection standpoint, are you looking at those numbers and saying we can build off of this, which clearly the Angels felt that about Detmers and Tyler Anderson, or do you look at it with a bit of pessimism and realism and say, are those outlier years? What can we do to put them in a similar situation so that they continue the progression of success, right? Because every one of those guys, Anderson, Canning, Sandoval, Berea, whoever, every one of those, they're 3, 4, 5 starters. There's not one guy, Silseth, 3, 4, 5 guy, 3, 4, until, maybe as he gets more time and maybe he becomes a 2. He's not an ace. Not today. He's not an ace.
Right.
Aces are aces, right? Like, who's an ace coming out. Paul Skeens is an ace. LSU to Pittsburgh. When he gets to Pittsburgh, he's going to be the guy based on talent alone, right? You still have to produce. But the guys that you have, currently are those back into the rotation guys. Lucas Giolito, is he a 1-2? On this team, he's a 2. But in a championship club, is he a 1-2?
He's a 3.
He's a 3. He's a 3 on the, starting that backward arc of his, career, right? He's had some pretty good numbers and pretty good years in Chicago. But that's what I mean about being realistic about it. It's like, I get where you're coming from. And the injuries, a good chunk of those injuries happened on the offensive side, not so much on the pitching side. So
right.
Then it begs the question of you can understand and or forgive, maybe it's too strong of a word, but let's say just use it, forgive the struggles at the offense or the inconsistency the offense has had, because Phil Nevin has not had a 1 through 9 lineup that he can run out every single day without maybe the occasional hiccup.
Right.
Right. Like the Rangers, for the most part all year, they've run out pretty much the same guys. Seager had a little bit of a bump. Jonah Heim now is out for some time. And now the Young thing just happened today. Right. So, but for the most part, they've run out the very similar lineup. The occasional Houston, for the most part, has run out. Alvarez was out for a little bit. Altuve was out. But they keep running out the same guys. The Angels haven't had that, it doesn't seem like. And they've had to piece it together. I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm just saying that's just the reality of it. But on the pitching side, they are who they are. Or are they? Right? Are we still high on Patrick Sandoval? Well, you have to be, because he's left-handed, and for the most part, he's got good stuff, and you hope that he can find what he did last year. Tyler Anderson, you look at his career, it's like, he had a great year last year. Paying him $39 million. And now he's becoming a 5 to 5.5 inning and dive guy. It's like, that's what you're paying $39 million for. You got 2 more years of a soft tossing lefty that has to really be on with all of his pitches in command. Otherwise, he's going to get in trouble, right? Griffin Canning. We've seen the glimpses of Griffin. I think you've seen better glimpses of Griffin's potential this year than you had in any of the previous years in the big leagues.
Yeah, he's got a spike in his fastball. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it, and a little bit of an edge that he's pitched with it at times, right? Like, how do we bottle that? How do we bottle that and grow off of that, right?
Yeah.
How do we get Reed Detmers back to what he was last year? Because at the end of the day, while those guys may be 3, 4, 5s, I'll take 4 stud number 3s and take my chances to plug in a 1 or a 2
any day.
Than having guys like, okay, let's flip a coin. Which Reed is going to show up? Which Tyler's going to show up? Which Griffin's going to show up? That gets old, because as an offense, especially when you're having to deal with injuries, you're sitting there going, we can't score 7 runs every single night. It's just not impossible. It's the big leagues. You know what I'm saying? That's where the frustration comes in, the development comes in, and trying to figure that out. And that's where, from a modeling perspective or from a projection standpoint, look, I'm all for being optimistic. Like, you feel good about everything you've done leading into, from the offseason into spring training. You look at your 40-man, you look at the depth you have in the minor leagues, you said, okay, I feel good. I think this year they did feel good. But was it realistic on the carryovers from these guys that just had huge spikes, like Reed Detmers and Patrick Sandoval, because they've been here 22 and now they're kind of in here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where are these real guys, and how do you determine that and or get them somehow back to what they were last year? And I think if you could do that through the end of this year and carry it into the offseason, I think you've got a pretty good chance. We'll see how the offseason plays out, right? Because I still am, and we can go dissect this. God, we're already at 30 minutes. We can dissect this any number of ways. I get the business decision on Shohei Ohtani. I understand it. I grasp it. I see it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm good with it. If that's what you want to do, I'm good with it. I still don't see why you needed to make the decision 5 days before the trade deadline to make the announcement that you're not going to trade him, while you still could have made the moves you made by still having him out there without having making the announcement. Not that you're going to trade him, because as you look at what Monday happened, right, and into Tuesday, there are a lot of people. There was no pitching. There was no. All of a sudden, people were like grasping at straws. You could have still had C.J. Cron. You still could have had Randall Grichuk. You still could have gotten Lucas Giolito. You still could have gotten Renato Lopez. All those guys weren't dependent upon pulling back Shohei. And so that's where my mind is. Look, and my mind would have been that way if they'd gone 6-0 since the trade deadline, right? Because I'm looking at it from the standpoint of who are we? Who is this team this year? And how far can they go? With an eye towards, which I've said all along, 24, 25, 26. That's what I was always looking at, right? I mean, Dominic Leone, did you have to overpay for Dominic Leone?
No.
And what did I tell you last week? If you're Billy Eppler, what are you going to do? The organization that fired you. So I was like, okay, I want this guy. I want your best for Dominic Leone. It's like, because he doesn't care if he moved Dominic Leone or not. Right. But he comes up with and Dominic's been good in his two outings, and we'll see how it plays out. But that's where I think this organization is kind of like in this, now you're in limbo stage, right? Right. Now you're like 10 and a half, 7 back in the wild card. Like, okay, who are we? And do we have any chance whatsoever of retaining Shohei going into 24?
Right. Victor, Jeff and I were talking earlier before we started the show, and there is a good chance that in 2 weeks, maybe 3, okay, they have Mike Trout, Zach Neto, Logan O'Hoppe, Griffin Canning. Who else am I missing on the IL that could come back? I don't think Anthony Rendon, but those 4 guys back in the lineup on the field, okay? And this team by then is completely buried in the wild card standings. Yeah. And then what you got, then for the last 6 weeks of the season, you're trotting out this team that on paper and the talent that is on the field is so damn good, but it's too far along in the season and too far behind for it to make a difference.
Yeah, that's the realism of it, right? Because I think that's what we've said for a number of weeks now is in talking about what the buzz is about around the team. Oh, but wait till they get Brandon Drury back, and wait till they get Mike Trout back and Logan O'Hoppe back. Look, at the end of the day, if I'm getting down to 2 weeks, and I think O'Hoppe is going out on a rehab assignment this week, this coming week, and they said that he's more than likely, and he should more than likely take the full, I think it's 20 days, the full rehab before making a decision. I absolutely would take the full. There's zero reason. Like that's just me keeping an eye out towards next year. Right. You know what I'm saying? Sure, it's like, what's the hurry? You've patched it together with Theis and Wallach. That hasn't been the Achilles heel of this team. Those two guys. No. Right? So it's like, what's the hurry? Make sure Logan is right for a long career. Same with Zach Neto. Love to have him. Right. Love his energy. Love what he brings defensively. Still learning on the offensive side. But back injuries, it's like, what's the hurry? Like, make sure. And I'm talking about if this trend still keeps going this way. Look, this week, what do they have? San Francisco Giants are going to Angel Stadium beginning tomorrow night on Monday night. And then they go on the Lone Star trip. They go to Houston and they go face the Rangers. You know, a week from now, we could be singing a different tune, or we could be starting to throw some dirt on it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it sucks, but I mean, that's just the reality of it. Again, baseball is a funny thing, but you've got Rays, Astros, Blue Jays, Mariners, Yankees, Red Sox. You got 6 teams in front of you, 3 that you've got to leapfrog in order to get, even a sniff of the third wild card spot right now. Are the Red Sox a team Red Sox have lost 4 in a row, and the Angels are still 2 back of them. Yankees are 4.5 back, and then the Mariners 2.5 back. It's a pick 'em. It really is, because it's San Francisco's going to come to play. I'm just telling you, they're a sneaky team that nobody really talks about. Nobody talks about the San Francisco Giants. They just do their thing.
Yeah.
What do you got, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm just. It struck me that when you said, we're not digging graves yet, or we're not throwing dirt on it. Yeah, and I'm thinking it's true. We're not digging graves yet, but we're sure looking around the garage to figure out where the shovels are. Yeah. I'm not feeling it. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not feeling it right now. I don't see. To your point, baseball's a funny game, and we can all go back in history and point to different teams and different years that made incredible bounce backs and runs the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season where they needed to thread the needle, to make it happen, and it happened. Could that happen for the Angels? Sure, it could happen. I'm just not seeing it. And to your point of talking and looking toward next year, is what does next year look like? If you lose Shohei and a lot of the guys that you made moves for, that you just added to the roster, their contracts are expiring. And what is this team going to be? What is this team even going to potentially look like next year? Who's still around? Is Nevin still there? Is Perry still there? I'm a little
there's a lot of questions
right now.
There's a lot of questions because, as you pointed out, that all the chips are in. Like, they gambled on 23.
Right.
And maybe it works from the standpoint of you don't get in, but you showed Shohei enough that, he's buying into, this is where I want to be. This is where I'm happy. This is where I'm comfortable. And look, at the end of the day, if that is the silver lining and it comes to fruition, I think everyone is happy. I've said this before. I don't, I'm a calculated risk taker. Like, I'm not afraid, but I want to weigh all my odds. I want to really be smart about it. I'm never just a guy that just blindly just says, screw it, I'll do it. And when I look at Shohei and the amount of money you're going to have to pay him, and maybe you don't have to pay as much if you're the Angels. I don't know. Maybe there is a hometown discount. Instead of $50 million, it's $45 million. I don't know. I'm just saying, because that's where he wants to be. I don't know. It goes back to that question I asked a couple of weeks ago. It's like, then that window is really small, because I just don't know for how long he can be an elite guy doing both things. And Trouty's getting a year older. Rendon, you just never know. And so that window of those elite guys is just getting smaller and smaller. So you better be all in. If you're all in this year, you bring Shohei back, you better be all in for 24, 25, and 26. That's all I'm saying. Because if you're not, and all you care about is bringing Shohei and the marketing dollars and all that stuff, then the fan base is tired. Fan base is tired of this, the bridesmaid stuff. They're just I think collectively they're tired. I mean, I talk to people that aren't on Twitter and fans that have been fans of the team forever, and it's this stinks. It's no fun. The people that are having fun at the ballpark, first timers or just newbies, but those people that have been following Angels baseball for a long period of time, they just want some sort of consistency, and they like that idea. And I think they like the idea of okay, our chips are in. Yeah, if we get to the playoffs, great. But our chips are in for like, it's the bigger picture, right? It's Shohei is trying to keep Shohei, and you better make sure that you keep Shohei. I personally speaking, or you better go out and sign some dudes in the offseason if you don't bring Shohei back.
Right. And there are some starting pitchers out on the market that the Angels could bring in. The development again of Silseth and Canning is so far a huge positive sign moving forward. And guys, Luis Rengifo was a guy that we ragged on a little bit in the past, but ever since they moved in to what he was doing in the minors in the leadoff role, I mean he's slashing over 300. He's got a near 400 on base percentage and a near 600 slug. The guy loves to hit leadoff. And how long has it been since the Angels had a leadoff hitter? Sean Figgins? That seems like a million years ago.
Yeah. Well, I think to me, like, yeah, he's look. I mean, it's a snapshot of a short period of time. Right. He's not a true leadoff hitter. He's never shown in his big league career that he can handle the leadoff spot. He can't even handle the number 9 spot. To me, look, and I'm not saying that you got to get back to what it was for the Angels. I'm not saying that at all. But when the Angels were going good in those, this is before I even got there. This is leading into, 08 and 09s and stuff like that. It's like you had a guy that knew how to handle the bat and can move the ball around and can run at number 1 and a similar type player at number 9. And the reason why is so that you could keep turning the lineup over.
Yep.
And just continuously get to that 2, 3, 4, 5 spot in the order. And they were aggressive and they ran the bases well and they took the extra base. Those teams were built differently. They were built differently. And they had switch hitters galore everywhere.
Right. Remember that, Jeff, when we had Figgins and Bobby Abreu with high on-base percentage guys with a little speed and a little bit of pop at the top of the lineup? Man, it's been a while.
It was a fun team to watch back at that time. It really was. When you look at, obviously the 2002 team, but then, from 2004 through, 2011, 12-ish, it was a fun team. And it just hasn't been. And I think to Victor's point of, fans getting tired, God, I even had it today out on the golf course. The guy I'm riding with, he's like, so, what's up with the Angels? And tell me again how it is that you guys have 2 of the best players in baseball history on your team, and you haven't made the playoffs and you're constantly at 500. How does that even happen?
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer. I don't know. And I think that's where a lot of the weariness comes from, is it's just like, oh God, here we go again. And what do we do? Is it blowing it up and starting over? Is going back to what I said 5 or 10 minutes ago? I just don't know. I've got nothing.
Hey, to Chuck's point about the free agency, it's not as good as you think it is, Chuck, especially from a starting pitching perspective. Marcus Stroman has got a player option at $21 million. Charlie Morton's got a club option at $20 million. Charlie Morton's not coming west. He's an East Coast guy. Clayton Kershaw, unrestricted free agent, not signing with the Angels. Hyun-Jin Ryu will be 36 years old, or is 36 years old. He's not coming to the Angels. Martin Perez, not going to be an Angel. Lance Lynn, no thank you. Adam Wainwright, probably retiring. Eduardo Rodriguez, he opted out or did not want the trade to the Los Angeles Dodgers. He has an opt-out. He's not turning down $18 million from the Tigers. Julio Urias, unrestricted free agent. He's 26, 27. I would have an interest in him. I would have some interest in him.
Aaron Nola.
But Aaron Nola, at 31 years age, maybe. Giolito, Sonny Gray. And I'm just talking about value.
Right.
They're guys. There's no doubt there are guys. Odorizzi, Rich Hill, Michael Lorenzen, Johnny Cueto, Herman Marquez, James Paxton. Alex
But I think you
Cobb.
only need one of those. I think you only need one of those, Victor, with what I was saying earlier. If you do re-sign Ohtani.
If you re-sign Ohtani, then yes, you need one. If you
Yeah.
don't re-sign Ohtani, what are you doing?
Well,
what are you doing?
We could spend a whole episode on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the biggest question for me. Is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And in a market value, they have market value. Spot Rack has market value for Shohei Ohtani at $36 million. But I don't know if that's just as a pitcher or overall. But I'm looking overall as like position players. I
think you do. What do you think about bringing back? And I tweeted this out earlier today.
Don't bring back anybody else. Let's stop bringing people back.
No. I'm talking about not bringing back, but keeping like Moustakas.
No, I like Mike. I told you I like Mike. What did I tell you he was going to be? He was going to be a guy that was going to be a leader. He's going to be vocal, and he's a guy that you have to be very careful how you play him. You pick your spots.
Yeah.
He's not a 6 games a week kind of guy. The body's just not there. But you use him at DH, use him at third, use him at first. Hell, if you need him at second base, late, whatever. I mean, you need him in a pinch. He's done that as well. But I like him. I mean, he signed a 1-year deal at a minor league minimum or a major league minimum this year. Yeah. So I think being a Southern California guy, absolutely. That's like a no-brainer. What's he going to ask?
And what about Giolito? Maybe we don't even talk about the rest of the guys, Victor, and just
you got to wait and see, is Lucas interested? You know? Look, Lucas is going to put his best foot forward because he's an unrestricted free agent, and then he's going to test the market. You know, this whole thing, he's a Southern California guy. He'll want to play. I don't.
None of that matters.
I don't believe any of that stuff. I mean, for a guy on the back end of his career like Moustakas, I can absolutely see it. A role guy, I can absolutely see it. But someone who's got the opportunity to go sign a 4-year, 3 to 5 year contract as a pitcher, he's looking. That's his last deal. That's their last contract, last big contract. They're not going to just take it hometown. I want to be home, and pay the 48% in taxes. Keep in mind, it's a financial decision.
Sure,
it's not just the end number, right? It's an overall decision. Lifestyle, taxes, everything is rolled into the decision making process. So, I just those will be fun shows, especially after the World Series when you can declare for free agency. Is it right after the All-Star break or 5 days or All-Star break, the World Series? There's a small window where you can exclusively negotiate with your pending free agents, and then you can then it's a free game. You imagine on that date, if the Angels don't sign Shohei, that doesn't mean they're not going to sign him. They still have the opportunity to sign, but it's open market time. It's just going to be non-stop on MLB Network. Where is Shohei going? The Shohei update. There's what's John Heyman on the tired
oh gosh,
mystery team. There's a mystery team in on Shohei.
I am not looking forward to the winter meetings hot stove. I am not.
Where's the winter meetings at this year? Wait, let's go do the show from the winter meetings this year. Hold on.
We will. We'll get in. Let's do it.
Let me find out. MLB calendar.
Yeah, where are they at this year? Let's go.
Wait, where's it at?
Hold on. Nashville, Tennessee. December 4th through the 7th.
Yes.
Chuck, diggity.
Chuck,
guys, listen. You guys can stay at my place.
I wasn't asking permission. I've already booked my trip. I just went to Expedia, right? I wasn't waiting for you, dude. You better have that pool heated, bro. Don't drain that pool.
Heated.
Okay.
It's heated.
Let's go.
Actually, you know what's weird? Like in November, it's still kind of warm outside. It doesn't actually get cold here until late December.
Yeah.
So
my brother-in-law has a place in Johnson City, so we go. It could be pretty cold though. It could be pretty chilly in late December.
Hey, Victor, you got to get us in
to the winter meetings.
I only have a few strings to. No, I'm talking about to get us inside the
lobby.
Where we're at. Yeah,
we can do whatever we want. Everybody
really?
goes in there. Yeah, you know what? I'll book a room at the hotel.
Let's do it. Okay.
Love it.
Just show you a room key.
We're already, guys, we're already in.
I'm with Rojas.
It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if we get kicked out, that's on me too. My bad. Oh, you're with that guy, huh?
It'd be funny if we were escorted out in the middle of a podcast.
Where is that SOB? Let's get him out of here. Oh, my God.
Oh,
All right,
awesome.
we got mailbag questions?
Yeah, let's bring it.
We do. All right, we'll start off
wait,
with...
real quick. The general managers meetings are in Scottsdale, November 7th through the 9th.
Okay. Never mind those.
No, let's go.
Let's go.
Victor and I can go see our kids.
Yeah,
it's a good reason. It's a good reason for us to go see them their senior year before they
spend some money one time, Chuck.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right.
Let's mailbag. Sorry.
Mailbag. No, sorry needed. So we'll start off with let's see. We've answered a lot of these, which is one of the things I love about as we go through. I highlight a bunch that I want to get to, and then we end up answering a lot of them. Let's see. We kind of did that one already. There was one. Let me find it.
There's a damn fruit fly in here.
And it is 5 days after the last day for a club to make a qualifying offer to an eligible former player who became a free agent. 5th day after the World Series at 4 p.m. Central. And then there is a last day for a player to accept a qualifying offer. It's usually the 10th day after the World Series at 4 p.m. Central. So 10 days after the World Series ends, the Angels are going to offer a qualifying offer. There's no doubt about it. To Shohei.
Right.
So the 10th day after that is when all hell breaks loose in November.
All right. So we'll go with Marcus from Garden Grove. He asks, do you think the Angels have a pitching philosophy problem driven by analytics? Sandoval and Suarez's best pitch was their changeup, and it seems like they hardly ever use it anymore.
It's possible. I mean, it's very possible. Without being there and being involved in those conversations, it's just an assumption, right? You just never know. There have been, and I've said this for years, you can't fool fans anymore. Mm-hmm. The information is readily available. Everything is there. I can type in anything. I go to Savant. I can go wherever I want and get any of the information that organizations are using. I don't give a shit if they call it proprietary, blah, 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 algorithms or whatever, modeling, whatever. You're not reinventing the wheel. You can see what guys are, what they do, where their success is, where their deficiencies are. And so I think typically speaking, fans are absolutely much smarter today, or more informed. I shouldn't say smarter, more informed today than they've ever been, because all that information is available to us. So you can speculate based on what you're seeing on every 5th day from a pitcher's perspective versus what the numbers say. And that's the disconnect, right? From the analytics. And that's where I have the biggest issue. It's like analytics are a jumping off point. I've said this a million times. They are a jumping off point. But until analytics and the metrics can update in real time based on the circumstances at hand, that's all they will be. Mm-hmm. Case in point, Griffin Canning. Maybe the changeup is his best pitch or whatever. In 23 and 22, and I'm just throwing stuff out there. Reed Detmers. The changeup was like a plus pitch for him, right? But for whatever reason in 23, he might be in the bullpen, and damn it, if he can't just get that feel for the changeup, he'll throw it occasionally, but because he doesn't have that feel or confidence to throw it, he's laying off of it. Even though the numbers suggest otherwise. Last year, that was a success pitch. So that's where I have the problem with making pitching or basing pitching philosophies on hard numbers, because everybody is different every single day. Every day you feel something different. Every day you sense something different. It's physical, it's emotional, and the numbers aren't capable of adjusting to that individual because it just can't quantify the intangibles. That's the problem. I love numbers. I love an edge on anybody, on a team, on a player, whatever the case may be. But that person has to be able to feel it every single time going out there in order to execute it. Because if they don't, that's great that the numbers tell me that's what I can't get there for whatever reason it is, mechanical or otherwise, psychological, whatever. It's difficult to, and that's why I don't like to judge philosophies without being in the room making the decisions.
Victor, before we move on to the next question, how do you feel about this whole third time through shit that's been happening?
What are your eyes telling you?
No, but
why did Tyler Anderson come out of the game after 5 innings?
That's my point. At 80 pitches.
Why? What are your eyes telling you? And I had the same issue with Joe Madden. It's like, why? And maybe it is coming from upstairs. I don't know. I'm not speculating. I'm not throwing that out there. All I'm saying is your eyes have to tell you. You've got to trust as a manager. If you're hiring a manager, you trust in his ability and his coaching staff's ability to handle the in-game situation. I'm going to give you the baseline. I'm going to give you the starting off point. Hey, these are the matchups. These are the guys. This is who's leverage-wise. This is where we should be. But the game should dictate to you every single night, every inning, every pitch, what is happening. And you should feel free as a manager to go off script. And if you don't, you're screwed. And the problem is that analytics are a crutch. Analytics are the crutch for any front office, for any manager, because all they have to do is go to a post-game scrum and sit there and say, well, why'd you take Tyler Anderson out after 5? Well, the third time through the order, this is what his numbers are. Yeah, but shit, he was dealing for 5 innings. Why not let him go? Go batter for batter. Have somebody up, warming up, go batter for batter, and get him to 6 innings. Get him to 6.5 innings. Maybe get him to 7 innings. Save your bullpen. It's just little things like that's what I believe. And I've always felt that way. And I think you have to empower the people downstairs to make those decisions. I'm going to give you everything I have, but you guys are making the decisions. And look,
but I think that's not what's happening. Yeah.
No, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And managers are going to screw up. That's part of the process. GMs are going to screw up. Scouting directors are going to screw up. It's a game of failure, for Christ's sake.
Right.
It's the only sport where you track mistakes on a scoreboard. Runs, hits, errors. Everybody's there. We track mistakes. Hell, you fail 7 times out of 10 as a hitter.
Right.
You're a Hall of Famer. You're a 300 hitter. So it's a game of failure. So why not give them all the information and then let them go with it? That's how I feel.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying these pitchers and you're relying on their talent, and you're telling me they can't get to the 6th inning. And for Anderson, you're paying him millions of dollars, right? And here's a guy that can't get you 6 innings, and because the third time through, he gave up 2 hits.
It's a crutch.
5 innings.
It's a crutch.
It's ridiculous. And then you look at Canning, who at 6 innings, right, or 5 innings, he struck out 10 guys. And he's at 100 pitches, right? Because the more guys you strike out, you throw more pitches, right? But let him throw 1 more inning, for crying out loud. What is the difference between throwing 100 pitches and 115 or 120?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
The 100 pitch count thing is the biggest joke in the world.
It is. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I mean, shit, we can go on this. We're not going to get any more mailbag questions because, and the reason I say that is because everyone likes to throw that out. And I've got a couple little things real quick. 100 pitches, right, in a game. And I get it that the numbers are the numbers. First time through the order, second time through the order, third time through the order. And, some guys have 4th time through the order. I get it that, guys trend certain ways. I totally understand. And I get that there are individuals, especially from a pitching perspective, that will tick down in velocity. That's just natural. I mean, you get to fatigue comes in, right? Everybody's different from a physical standpoint, stamina standpoint, conditioning standpoint. Everyone is different. And so it makes sense where velo ticks down. And then that to me, in today's baseball organizations. That's, again, the impetus to pull somebody out. Well, his velo ticks down. After X amount of pitches, at 80 pitches, his velo ticks down. And I'll give you a story on that. We're talking about starters one day, and somebody said something on the air. It wasn't on the TV side. Maybe Langer, maybe Terry. I don't know. Somebody said something about starters. And sure as shit, we get called into a meeting. All of us. Gooby, myself, Langer, Terry. I don't know who else was there. John Carpino is there. Billy Eppler is there. And I forget his analytics guy was there. And it was Billy talking about the starter situation and why we use starters. That's what it was. It was kind of like a starter 101 thing. And he brought up Felix Pena as an example. Felix, as you know, was a guy that kind of swung back from the closing to bullpen guy to starter, whatever. And he brought up the point of, well, Felix is a guy, because he wasn't the starter then. They were using a starter for Felix. And he said at 80 pitches, his velo starts to tick downward. And so I'm like, okay, well, I get that because everyone's different. And that's why we use a starter or an opener for him to go through that first part of the order so that he could face, in theory, 4, 5, and 6, and then go from there up and down the lineup so that he can get to 2.5 to 3 times through the order. And now, in theory, you're deeper into games. You notice that starters aren't really used anymore, right? You get that, right? Yeah. That's the narrator in me talking. So I bring up the question. I raised my hand. I was very respectful. And he mentioned that they know this with guys coming up through the minor leagues, that that's the case. And my question immediately, I'm a logical thinker, at least I'd like to think that I am, is, hey, Billy, if Felix Pena as an individual has issues at 80 pitches as far as stamina and or velocity, wouldn't it behoove us at the player development level to teach guys to get them stronger and to tell them that we're not taking you out at 80 pitches. Our expectation is you're going to get to 100, so that when they get to the big leagues, their expectation is 7 innings, 115 pitches. That didn't have an answer. It didn't have an answer for me. It's because the numbers say X, and it's like, that's how we make our decisions. And that to me is not being grounded in reality. And that's why, look, that was just one example, because we were actually called into this meeting. And actually, I left that meeting, all 4 of us left that meeting going, okay, so we were right. The starter thing is something that you can get out of. Again, notice that very rarely are any teams using openers anymore.
Right.
It's like, teach your starters how to pitch and work deep into games and get this stupid 100 pitch count threshold out of everybody's head that we've instilled in everybody. And the reason I say it, and the one last thing on the 100 pitch count thing, no one wants to talk about the number of pitches when somebody is stretching and the long toss they do out there before they walk into the bullpen, get warmed up in the game, or in the bullpen, then walk in and throw 100 pitches in the game. By the time all that's said and done, it's 150 pitches. So who gives a shit about the 100 pitch count in the game? Maybe lessen the bullpen work or the warm-up work before coming to the game so that you can get them lengthened into a game. Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Again, I'd like to think logically, and I'm sure there's a lot more people out there that, can dissect this. But that's pretty basic stuff. Who's clocking all the pitches or throws as someone is long tossing out in the outfield, plus the pitches that are being thrown in the bullpen? What are you at? 35, 40, 45 before you even come into the game, which I get. That's why to me that artificial 100 pitch count thing is bullshit. It's bullshit. It really is. You got to look with your eyes to see what that person is doing at any given moment, because why not go to 105? Nolan Ryan, last thing, I know we got to go.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought him up.
Nolan Ryan, when he was president of the Texas Rangers. Whether you agree with it or not, John Daniels, who's a good friend of mine, and I love Nolan to death too. Nolan came in and said, pitchers, this is what we're going to do. The expectation is it's not 5 and dive. It's not 100 pitches and you're out. It's you better work on your legs. You better work on your stamina because the expectation is X.
Right.
And if you set that standard from the time they enter rookie ball all the way to the big leagues and you live it every single day, agents be damned.
Amen.
That's the expectation. And if you don't want to buy into our program, we'll find a place for you. That was Nolan. That's what I believe. And I don't know what the magic number is. I think you have to be careful. I think everyone is built differently. Minds, again, psychologically, physically, emotionally. Those 3 things have to factor into everything when you make a decision on players. You cannot take a blanket philosophy, pitching or hitting, blanket philosophy as an organization and say, we're going to do this now. Everybody should do that. You can't do it because they're not robots. They're people. And some people can't do that. And that's the shame of it all. And that's where you always get some regression from a developmental standpoint.
And it's like, Nolan Ryan, and to finish that point, Victor, Nolan Ryan, when asked, how did you succeed at the longevity as far as your career in the Major League Baseball, in the amount of innings pitched and the amount of pitches thrown, right, in ball games? And he said, it's all in the legs. I was working my legs every day of the week, always on a bike, always building muscle in my legs. You would think that people would take something from that guy and instill that in player development in these guys, right? Even Pedro Martinez was a teeny little human.
Yeah.
And he had strong legs.
Yep.
And so anyway.
And look, there's freaks of nature, the Justin Verlanders of the world, the Nolan Ryans. I mean, there are guys that are they're freak. They're elite. Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. They're just different guys. But from a base perspective, that's what I believe. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that if my expectation from a starting pitcher should be 6 to 7 innings, work deep into a game so that you save your bullpen as much as possible. If I work backwards from what my goal is, how do I get my guys to get to that goal? And it starts from the minute they step into your organization from a developmental standpoint. Some guys have it. Some guys have it. You don't even they know. And that, again, it's your eyes and talking to people, communication, connecting. Yeah. That guy knows. Let's get these other 40 dudes on the right page so that it can be fruitful for the organization.
Right. And Victor, to that point, to that end, if you're taking your starting pitchers out before they get 3 times through, the lineup, are you saving your bullpen?
No.
And Nevin in the entire team is always giving Estevez. Oh, we're not going to use Estevez today because we used him 2 days in a row. But you've used all these other guys in a row because you're always pulling your guys in the 5th inning.
Yeah.
And how is that going to benefit the stamina, and the usage on the arm throughout an entire season? It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's a fine line. It really is. I mean, it just I don't believe in scripting a baseball game. I really don't. I think, again, if the baseline of a scouting report in whatever iteration you want it to be in today's jargon or in yesteryear's jargon, the scouting report before the game, if that's your script, right, that's great. But first batter of the game, he should be able to tell you what that guy on the mound has. He's got a little life to it, got a little run to it, fastball's up, fastball's down, the spin on the breaking ball is coming out a little funky, and it's just communication. So it's a baseline. It's a jumping off point to get you ready for the expectation. And plus all thit's guys, for the most part, have built-in databases of what they've done against all of these individuals, especially the longer they've been in the big leagues. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they know what their plan is going into it. And as a manager, as a bench coach, as coaches in general, you would think with the years that these guys have been in the big leagues doing this stuff, as players or otherwise, they've got a database themselves. They've got a feel for the game. Otherwise, that's why they're managing. That's why they're coaching. That's what you trust. And when you put a coaching staff together as a front office, you're trusting in their ability to be able to coach these guys, to game management, to communicate, to be a forward-facing individual for the organization. Any number of things. There's a checklist that you run through, but you ultimately hired that guy because you felt that the commonality between the two of you, the pipeline between the general manager and the manager, that you have a trust, that you trust him to make the best decisions possible every given night. And you've got to give him that trust. I'm not saying that's happening with the Angels. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just talking collectively from a baseball perspective. It has nothing to do with the Angels specifically, but you got to trust the guy that's in the dugout. You really do. And if you don't trust him, or he's constantly making the decisions because he's way out over his skis, then you got to make a move.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we were going to do 15 minutes today.
Jeff, that was by far your best show. Seriously.
Crushed it. I'm telling you, the fact that I rallied to be here, I think I agree with you. It was my best show.
Hey guys, how's 7 Eastern sound? I'm good with that. Jeffrey? Yeah, that's fine.
Poor Jeff. Poor Jeff is hungover, and we did our longest podcast ever.
No shit. He's sitting there going, "Stop talking, please." I was waiting for him to duck out. It's just going to be a 2-person screen. For Geoff Stoddart and Chuck Richter, I'm Victor Rojas. We thank you for listening to episode 15 of the Angels Win podcast. Be sure to like us and tell your friends. Chuck, Jeff, cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers,
I appreciate it. Until next week.
Thank you for listening to the Angels Win podcast with Victor Rojas, Chuck Richter, and Geoff Stoddart. Go Halos and drive home safely.
Say goodbye.